Cory Coman exploring the relationship between humans, their brains, music, automobiles, driving, and beautiful imagery. That is a powerful combination. Music, spoken voice, driving, and beautiful road imagery. Each has a distinct effect on the brain, but together they create a multisensory experience that can deeply impact mood, attention, memory, and even physical well-being. Let's now take a moment to look at how these elements, voice, music, driving, and road imagery, interact in the brain, and how they shape our emotional and cognitive experience. First, the spoken voice. When we hear a calm, rhythmic, and expressive voice, especially in a narrative tone, it activates the areas of the brain responsible for language processing, like Broca's and Wernicke's regions. But it does more than just process words. A well-delivered voice, which is our guiding principle, can actually lower our stress hormone levels, bring us into a meditative state, and build a quiet sense of trust and emotional connection. The emotional tone of the voice also stimulates our limbic system, the emotional center of the brain, and this effect becomes even stronger when that voice is accompanied by music. Second, we have the music itself. Certain types of music, especially ambient or uplifting melodies, engage the brain's reward system and trigger a release of dopamine, creating feelings of pleasure, calm, and emotional uplift. Music of this kind can reduce anxiety, improve focus, and sharpen our reaction time when driving. The rhythm of the music also interacts with our heartbeat and brain waves. Slower tempos tend to calm the nervous system, while more defined rhythms help anchor our attention and heighten alertness. Third, the visual element, beautiful road imagery. When we look at open roads winding through scenic landscapes, the visual cortex comes alive. At the same time, the brain's default mode network, which is linked to imagination, memory, and self-reflection, becomes engaged. Scenic imagery like this can spark a sense of awe or serenity, and it mimics the mental effect of being in nature. This has a restorative impact on the mind, reducing stress and improving emotional balance. It also activates areas of the brain tied to spatial navigation and memory, making the whole experience feel more immersive and meaningful. And fourth, the act of driving itself. Driving isn't just a mechanical task, it's a full-body, full-mind experience. It engages our coordination, our focus, our ability to read the world around us in real time. But beyond that, driving gives us something deeply psychological. It gives us a sense of control, a sense that we're choosing our direction, setting our pace, making real decisions from moment to moment. That feeling of being in motion, of actively shaping our path, can be incredibly powerful. It creates a mental state where we feel free, alert, and purposeful. When we combine that with the right music, a calm voice, and beautiful views of the road, driving becomes more than just getting from point A to point B. It becomes a space for reflection, for release, and even quiet transformation. Together, these four elements don't just work in parallel. They interact, reinforce, and amplify each other. They create a multisensory harmony that can calm the mind, sharpen the senses, and offer a subtle but profound shift in mood and mental clarity. For many, this is the deeper reason why time spent in a car can feel unexpectedly therapeutic. It's not just about getting somewhere, it's about the state of mind we pass through on the way. So what happens when all of these elements, voice, music, imagery, and the act of driving, come together? The brain begins to treat the experience as one unified emotional story. The prefrontal cortex, which helps us make sense of complex input, weaves everything into a coherent narrative, something that feels meaningful. At the same time, the hippocampus, the part of the brain tied to memory, is more likely to encode the moment as something worth remembering. The amygdala, which scans for emotional significance, picks up on the cues from the voice, the music and the visuals, and amplifies the emotional weight of the experience. Interestingly, when road imagery is involved, especially if it's tied to motion, it can even activate the brain's motor imagery circuits, almost like a light version of driving in the mind. This creates a sense of immersion, of mentally being in the scene, even when you're not physically moving. The result is more than just stimulation. Psychologically, it creates a sense of being on a journey, both outward and inward. It can lead to states of daydreaming or flow, where time seems to stretch or dissolve. It can even offer a kind of gentle escape, a therapeutic release from stress or tension. And when all of this is paired with positive narration or reflective thoughts, it becomes something even more powerful. It encourages optimism. It invites hope. It clears mental fog and helps us reconnect with a sense of direction. In this state, we're not just listening or watching. We're traveling emotionally, imaginatively, and in some cases even spiritually.
In our brains, music resonates not only as a melody we hear, but also as a complex symphony of neural connections. Each note, rhythm, and harmony interacts with different regions of the brain, creating an intricate dance of electrical impulses and biochemical reactions. Far beyond serving as a mere background soundtrack to our daily routines, music profoundly influences our mental, emotional, and even physical state. Let us begin by exploring the fundamental ways music nurtures our mind, body, and soul, focusing especially on its impact on the brain. Music does not just entertain, it engages multiple regions of the brain simultaneously, stimulating areas responsible for memory, emotion, motor coordination, and even language. Listening to or playing music boosts neural connectivity, encourages the growth of new brain cells, and enhances cognitive functions such as focus, problem-solving, and emotional regulation. It can reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and trigger the release of dopamine, the brain's feel-good chemical. Once we understand these core benefits, we will dive into various types of music and how each uniquely supports our well-being. Building on everything we've explored so far, it is worth remembering that many of us spend a significant amount of time in our cars, often daily. With that in mind, we'll also look at what types of music can be especially beneficial to listen to while driving, enhancing not just your mood, but also focus, relaxation, or energy behind the wheel. Music is one of the few human experiences that engages multiple brain systems at once. It activates the auditory cortex, which processes sound, the motor cortex, which relates to movement and rhythm, the limbic system, which governs emotions, and the prefrontal cortex, which is involved in planning and decision-making. These widespread activations reveal that music is not a passive experience. It is an active reconfiguration of the brain itself. This interaction showcases the brain's incredible capacity for neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to adapt, grow, and reorganize itself in response to new experiences. It is the same way muscles grow as a result of different kinds of exercises or activities. It is incredible how something as intangible and abstract as music can have such a tangible and profound impact on the grey matter inside our skulls. This is the true power of music. Not only does it touch our souls, but it also shapes and molds the very organ that defines our humanity, the brain. Again, listening to music, it is not just a delightful way to pass the time, or a simple means to boost our mood and energy levels. This activity can also have a profound effect on brain functions, driving both structural and functional changes. Research into the impact of music on the brain reveals that engaging with music can enhance the brain's natural neuroplasticity, strengthening our cognitive abilities and improving a wide range of skills. Let us talk a bit about the emotional power of music. Music has a unique capacity to evoke emotions, triggers memories, and shifts mental states. A single song can bring us to tears, revive long-forgotten moments, or fill us with joy. This emotional power is why music is so deeply woven into human culture and rituals, from lullabies to funerals, from war drums to wedding marches. As I mentioned the word lullaby, something else came to mind that it is worth sharing with you. In follow-up clinical studies comparing 8-year-old children who took music lessons versus those who studied painting, both for several months, researchers made this discovery. Musical training, unlike visual arts instruction, led to the development of transferable language-related skills. These findings show that learning music not only sharpens auditory perception, but also enhances speech and communication abilities, highlighting the unique power of music to boost brain functions beyond the realm of sound. This is not the case just for children, but also with adults of all ages. Current research suggests that musical training actively supports brain plasticity and may even help protect against cognitive decline. When you try something new, like learning to play a musical instrument, you stimulate your brain to form fresh neural pathways. With every note practiced and every lesson learned, new neurons connect, and your brain's functioning begins to adapt and evolve in powerful, lasting ways. Now let us talk a bit about therapeutic and cognitive benefits. 1. Playing or listening to classical music, especially compositions by Mozart, Bach, and Vivaldi, has been shown to improve concentration, reduce stress, and enhance spatial temporal reasoning, a phenomenon popularly known as the Mozart effect. 2. Ambient or nature-inspired music can calm the nervous system, regulate heart rate and blood pressure, and it is often used in mindfulness and other meditation practices. 3. Upbeat pop or rhythmic dance music can elevate mood, stimulate physical activity, and improve energy levels. It is frequently used in rehabilitation programs and fitness routines. 4. Jazz and blues often encourages introspection, emotional processing, and creative thinking. Their improvisational nature can stimulate cognitive flexibility. 5. Culturally familiar or nostalgic music can help reconnect memory and identity in people with Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia. Music and healing. In clinical settings, music therapy is increasingly used to assist in recovery from strokes, trauma, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and chronic pain. Rhythm can aid in motor rehabilitation, while melodic intonation can support speech recovery in patients with aphasia, which is a language disorder. What kind of music might be unhealthy? While music is largely beneficial, not all types are universally helpful. Examples: 1. Very loud, dissonant, or aggressive music, e.g. certain genres of harsh noise or extremely aggressive heavy metal, can heighten anxiety, raise cortisol levels, and even lead to sleep disturbances or irritability, especially if listened to excessively. 2. Overly repetitive and low-quality commercial music lacking emotional depth or subtlety may overstimulate and fatigue the brain without offering meaningful engagement. 3. Music associated with traumatic events can trigger negative emotions or flashbacks in some individuals, especially in those with PTSD. Let us take a moment to bring up a very important matter, which is individual differences. It is essential to remember that musical preference is highly personal. What calms one person may agitate another. Cultural background, past experiences, emotional associations, and even genetic differences in brain wiring all influence how we respond to music. Conclusion. Music is not just entertainment. It is a profound neural exercise and emotional tool. It shapes our brain, touches our soul, and connects us to others. By choosing music intentionally, based on our needs, context, and emotional state, we can harness its full power to promote healing, joy, and growth. If you're interested in how all of these processes work in the brain, here's a short summary. Let's explore how music affects the brain on a neurological level. What is happening under the hood when we listen to music, and how this activity enables the benefits described earlier. Auditory cortex. Decoding the sound. When music reaches our ears, the sound waves are turned into electrical signals by the cochlea deep inside the inner ear. These signals then travel along the auditory nerve to the brain's auditory cortex in the temporal lobes. That's where the brain gets to work, figuring out the pitch, whether a note is high or low, picking up on rhythm and tempo, and using timbre, the unique texture of the sound, to tell a violin from a flute. This decoding happens in milliseconds and forms the basis for more complex brain responses. Motor cortex, rhythm and movement. Even if you're sitting still, the motor cortex becomes active when you hear a strong beat or rhythm. This explains why we instinctively tap our feet or nod our heads to music. It is also why 1. Rhythmic music can help Parkinson's patients improve gait and coordination. 2. Movement-related rehabilitation often incorporates musical rhythm to rewire motor pathways. Limbic system, emotion and reward. The limbic system, especially the amygdala and hippocampus, is the emotional center of the brain. Music can powerfully engage this region. 1. The amygdala evaluates the emotional content of the music, whether it is happy, sad, suspenseful, etc. 2. The hippocampus links music to memory, which is why songs from the past can evoke vivid emotions or long-buried moments. When you hear a song you love, your brain releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter involved in pleasure and reward. This occurs in the nucleus accumbens, a key part of the brain's reward system. This dopamine rush is similar to what happens during eating, exercise, or social bonding. Music, therefore, becomes not just enjoyable, but biologically rewarding. Prefrontal cortex. Meaning, planning, imagination. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for higher thinking and decision-making, is engaged when we 1. Interpret lyrics. 2. Imagine or anticipate musical progressions. 3. Experience chills during a climax in music. 4. Feel a song resonates with personal meaning. This is also the part of the brain where neuroplasticity shows its power. When people learn to play an instrument or engage deeply with complex music, the prefrontal cortex can literally grow denser and more interconnected. Broca's area and Wernicke's area, language and lyrics. Music with lyrics involves language processing centers. 1. Broca's area, in the left frontal lobe, helps interpret the structure of sentences and even musical phrasing. 2. Wernicke's area, in the temporal lobe, deciphers meaning. This is why music can help stroke victims or those with aphasia regain language skills, because it stimulates linguistic regions through melody and rhythm. Corpus callosum, whole brain coordination. The corpus callosum is the thick band of fibers connecting the brain's left and right hemispheres. In musicians, or frequent listeners to complex music. 1. It becomes more active or even structurally larger. 2. This boosts interhemispheric communication, integrating emotional, right brain, and analytical, left brain, responses to music. Default Mode Network, DMN, Daydreaming and Creativity. The DMN activates when you're at rest and introspective. Music, especially ambient or contemplative music, stimulates this network, fostering the following functions. 1. Self-reflection. 2. Creative thoughts. 3. Problem-solving. This is why some people find listening to music helps them think more deeply, or get into the zone, a heightened focus and performance state. Now, let us connect the brain's response to music with the very specific context of listening to music while driving. This setting is particularly rich because it combines motion, attention, environment, and emotional state. And music plays a significant role in shaping all of these. The car as a concert hall for the brain. Before we dive into this idea, let's set the mood with a song that turns any drive into a cinematic dream, Amado Mio, which comes courtesy of Pink Martini, a band that blends vintage glamour with global sophistication. Let the strings sweep you away and the vocals stir your soul. This is Amado Mio.
I've whispered, Amado Mio. It was just a phrase that I heard in plays. I was acting a part. But now when I whisper, Amado Mio, can't you tell I care by the feelings there? For it comes from my heart, my one endeavor, my love, my darling, would be to hold you and hold you tight. Many times I've whispered, Amato mio. It was just a phrase that I heard in place. I was acting a part. But now when I whisper, Amato mio, can't you tell I care by the feelings there? For it comes from my heart, my one endeavor. My love, my darling, would be to hold you and hold you tight. Amado mio, love me forever and let forever begin tonight, and let forever begin tonight, and let forever begin
Stormlord.
Listening to music in an automobile is one of the most common, and in some ways, most neurologically dynamic forms of music engagement. Why? Because it brings together 1. Movement of both the vehicle and the body. 2. Sensory stimulation, vision, hearing, touch. 3. Mental alertness for safe driving. And 4. Emotional self-regulation, often needed during traffic, long trips, or stress. In this environment, music becomes not just a soundtrack, but a co-pilot influencing your brain, your emotions, and even your safety. What's happening in the brain when you listen to music while driving? All the brain processes discussed earlier are still at work, but now they're layered with the cognitive demands of driving. Here's how the key regions are involved in this setting. 1. The auditory cortex processes both road sounds and music at the same time, allowing the brain to monitor driving cues while enjoying the music. 2. The motor cortex coordinates steering and pedal movements and can subtly sync with the rhythm of the music, promoting smoother driving motions. 3. The limbic system regulates emotion, meaning music can either soothe or stimulate mood, which may directly influence driving style and decision-making. 4. The prefrontal cortex helps divide attention, allowing drivers to stay aware of traffic while also engaging with the music they're listening to. 5. The default mode network often activates during long, uneventful drives, especially when ambient or background music is playing, creating a sense of calm focus.
6. The corpus callosum helps balance logical decision-making with emotional modulation, ensuring both reasoning and emotions stay properly regulated while driving with music.
Music as a mood regulator in traffic. The emotional stress of driving, whether from traffic jams, poor weather, or road rage, activates the amygdala, the brain's fear and anger, flight or flee centers. Music, especially calm, familiar, or rhythmic music, can downregulate that emotional response by stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode, and lowering heart rate and cortisol levels. In contrast, high-intensity or aggressive music can do the opposite.
1. It may raise adrenaline and heart rate. 2. It might push a driver to speed unconsciously or take more risks.
This shows how music in a car is not neutral. It can either support or hinder safety. Types of music and their effects behind the wheel. Helpful for driving. 1. Instrumental or classical music. Enhances concentration, reduces stress, doesn't compete with the brain's language centers. 2. Mellow pop, soft rock or ambient music keeps alertness balanced with calmness, ideal for long drives. 3. Familiar playlists reduce cognitive load. You don't have to process surprises, reinforcing emotional stability. Potentially distracting or unhealthy. 1. Fast-paced, electronic or aggressive rock or metal can elevate risk-taking, especially among younger or emotionally reactive drivers. 2. Songs with emotional or traumatic associations, which may trigger intrusive memories, impairing focus. 3. Complex or dissonant music, which requires more neural resources and might compete with attention needed for driving. Music and driving performance. This is what research has shown. 1. Moderate tempo music, 60 to 100 beats per minute, supports better reaction times and mental clarity. 2. Very loud music, over 95 decibels, impairs reaction time and increases heart rate and blood pressure. 3. Sing-alongs can keep drivers alert and engaged during monotonous highway stretches, but should be avoided in complex traffic environments. Music as an emotional GPS. Think of your music choices in the car like tuning your emotional GPS. 1. Feeling anxious? Choose something soothing, slow or nostalgic. 2. Feeling sleepy? Go for rhythmic, mid-tempo songs with a light, energizing beat. 3. Feeling overwhelmed? Avoid songs with rapid lyrical content or aggressive tones. These can make your brain feel crowded. In conclusion, listening to music while driving is not passive. It is an active neurological and emotional experience. In the small acoustic chamber of your car, music becomes a tool that 1. Shapes your emotional balance. 2. Modulates your brain's alertness and 3. Can even influence your safety on the road. By choosing music that matches your current state and needs, you're not just curating a playlist, you're optimizing your brain. Music and Driving, Brain-Friendly Playlist Guide. Additional tips. 1. Volume matters. Keep it below 85 decibels. If too loud, it can cause slower reaction times. 2. Avoid music with abrupt changes. Sudden tempo shifts can create emotional turbulence. Here are some examples of types of music to avoid. Progressive rock or progressive metal? Examples. 1. Close to the Edge. Yes. 2. Dance of Eternity. Dream Theater. Why? Frequent shifts in tempo, time signatures, and mood. Examples. 1. Ascension. John Coltrane. 2. Machine Gun. Peter Brutzmann. Why? Unpredictable rhythms, sudden bursts of intensity. Certain modern classical or avant-garde pieces. Examples. 1. Ionization. Edgard Varese. 2. Threnody for the Victims of Hiroshima. Krzysztof Penderecki. Why? Extreme dynamic changes and unsettling mood swings. Electronic or EDM with sudden drops or tempo changes. 1. Bangarang, Skrillex. 2. Animals, Martin Garrix. Why? Builds to calm, then sudden intense drops or rhythm breaks. Post-rock with dramatic builds. 1. Storm. Godspeed You, Black Emperor. 2. Moya. Godspeed You, Black Emperor. These songs start soft, but build into loud, emotionally charged climaxes. Best to use voice control or pre-made playlists, so you do not have to fiddle with your phone while you are driving. Let passengers be the DJ when possible, particularly if you're feeling mentally overloaded. Let us now get to the pleasant and more healthy type of music. Opera deserves special attention. It is one of the most complex and emotionally potent forms of music, combining orchestration, human voice, language, drama, and theatrical pacing. That makes it a powerful neurological stimulant with both positive and potentially distracting effects, especially while driving. Up next, a true icon of the operatic world. From grand stages to global moments, Nessun Dorma has become a symbol of triumph, mystery, and passion. Whether you're discovering it or revisiting a classic, Puccini's unforgettable aria is ready to take center stage. Let's not forget also about another masterpiece of Gaetano Donizetti, L'Elisir d'Amore. how opera affects the brain. Opera activates multiple brain regions at once, often more intensely than simpler music genres. Listening to opera activates a wide range of brain areas, each contributing to a rich and immersive experience. Here is how. 1. The auditory cortex processes the layered complexity of the human voice and orchestral instruments. 2. The limbic system, particularly the amygdala and hippocampus, responds powerfully to the emotional arcs and vocal intensity that are central to opera. 3. Areas such as Broca's and Wernicke's regions become engaged when interpreting lyrics and following the narrative, especially when the opera is in a foreign language. 4. The prefrontal cortex plays a key role in analysing the plot, structure, and even the quality of a performance. 5. If the listener is watching the opera, or vividly imagining the scenes, the visual cortex also becomes active, enhancing both mental imagery and emotional depth.
Music and driving, what to listen to and when. We spend a lot of time in our cars, so choosing the right music can actually support your brain and mood while driving. Let's break it down by different driving situations. 1. When you're calm and stress-free, play soft jazz, classical music like Bach or Debussy, or gentle acoustic instrumentals. These help keep you relaxed and focused without overstimulating your brain. Avoid music that's too fast or filled with complex lyrics. It can distract you. 1. When you're stressed or feeling road rage, try ambient music, chill out electronica like taiko or bonobo, or even nature sounds. This kind of music soothes the nervous system and calms the emotional centers of your brain. It would be helpful for your health if you would stay away from aggressive rock, loud hip-hop, or anything with angry lyrics. It might make you feel even more on edge. 2. When you're tired or on a long trip, mid-tempo pop songs, around 60 to 100 beats per minute, classic rock or upbeat retro electronic can help. They keep your brain engaged and alert. Also, avoiding very slow, repetitive music could also help because it might make you even sleepier. 3. In heavy traffic or city driving, familiar playlists, mellow indie music, lo-fi beats, or world music are great here. They don't demand too much mental energy and help you stay present on the road. Avoid completely new music or tracks with complicated vocals that could be distracting. Or for that matter, avoid anything you'd find distracting. 4. When you're feeling emotional or reflective, go for nostalgic favourites, gentle piano ballads, or cinematic scores. These let your brain process emotions in a calm, healthy way. But be careful with songs tied to painful memories. They can bring up unwanted feelings. 5. In bad weather or low visibility, choose music with a steady rhythm, instrumental movie soundtracks, or soft electronic. These help keep your focus sharp and reduce feelings of anxiety. Avoid music that is too fast or unpredictable because it could increase tension. 6. On long highways or the Autobahn, progressive rock, classic albums that feel like a journey, or rhythmic techno can work wonders. They support a steady flow state and help you stay focused over time. Try to avoid music that's too mentally demanding or complicated. It can tire your brain out. Let's come back for a few moments to opera, specifically to the benefits of opera, brain plus emotion. 1. Deep emotional engagement. Opera uniquely stirs complex emotional states like awe, grief, love, and catharsis, which is the emotional release or relief you feel after expressing or experiencing intense emotions, often through art, music, or storytelling. Cognitive stimulation takes place by decoding language, plot, and musical motifs, which keeps the brain richly engaged. Cultural and autobiographical memory activation. A particular aria may evoke powerful personal or historical associations. Increased empathy. Through dramatic storytelling, opera can enhance understanding of nuanced emotional experiences. Opera, while driving, a double-edged sword. Opera in the car can be powerful, but it all depends on when and how you listen. On a long open road, when you're alone and unrushed, opera can feel majestic. Especially if you know the aria, the music can uplift you, create space for reflection, and even bring calm. But in heavy traffic, or when you're facing constant lane changes and fast decisions, opera may overwhelm rather than help. If you're listening to a favourite familiar piece, something you already know, the emotional flow can feel like a companion. But if you're hearing a dramatic scene for the first time, with sudden changes in volume or tempo, it might pull too much of your focus. Soft lyrical arias tend to support concentration and ease, but loud, fast-paced climaxes or tragic crescendos can be distracting and may even affect your mood or response time. So, like with all music while driving, it's about choosing the right moment and the right energy for the road ahead. A word of caution. The voice in opera can demand attention. It naturally pulls the brain toward emotional analysis and away from logic. For some, this is enriching. For others, especially if you're already tired, stressed, or in complex traffic, it may become mentally overstimulating. And if the opera is sung in a foreign language, the extra mental effort to process or subconsciously decode unfamiliar words can add even more cognitive load, increasing the chance of distraction while driving. However, when you're used to listening to opera or any music in a foreign language, your brain stops trying to actively process the words. Instead, it shifts into more of a musical and emotional mode, simply enjoying the sound, phrasing, and emotion without needing to decode the lyrics. Summary: opera and its effect on the brain. 1. Emotional vocals in opera stimulate empathy and activate the brain's limbic system. 2. Complex orchestration challenges the brain, increasing cognitive engagement. 3. Narrative content draws on memory and language centers, enriching the listening experience. 4th, foreign languages in opera may enhance or distract linguistic processing, depending on your familiarity. 5. Sudden dynamic shifts, from soft to powerful, can trigger startle responses or shift your emotional state, unless you are familiar with that particular area you are listening to. Then you accept the highs and lows. Here are some of the best opera for driving. First, familiar, slow-paced arias, e.g., O mio babbino caro, nessun dorma. Baroque opera, e.g., Handel, often more predictable and rhythmically balanced. Instrumental interludes or overtures from operas. Here are some opera to avoid while driving. Highly dramatic scenes or final acts of tragedies, e.g. Tosca, Tristan und Isolde, in traffic can be emotionally unstable. The effect of classical music on the brain. 1. Classical music, particularly pieces with clear rhythms and predictable structures, such as Baroque music, stimulates the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for executive functions like focus, decision-making, and problem-solving. The organized patterns in classical music help the brain maintain sustained attention, reducing cognitive fatigue and enhancing concentration. Baroque music is a style of Western classical music that was composed roughly between 1600 and 1750. It's known for being rich, ornate, emotional, and highly structured. Some of the most famous Baroque composers include Johann Sebastian Bach, George Friedrich Handel, Antonio Vivaldi, and Claudio Monteverdi. 2. Neurotransmitters. Classical music can stimulate the release of dopamine, a neurotransmitter linked to motivation and reward, keeping the brain engaged and alert.
Up next, a piece that defies tradition, and yet has become one of the most iconic works in all of classical music. Maurice Ravel's Bolero is a study in obsession and control, built from a single theme repeated and transformed over time. What begins as a whisper becomes an unstoppable force, a slow, hypnotic crescendo that captures the tension between restraint and release. It's not just a composition, it's a journey.
3. Classical music, especially slow movements or adagio pieces, can activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which promotes a state of calm and relaxation. This reduces the production of cortisol, the stress hormone, and helps lower blood pressure, creating a sense of peace. 4. Neurotransmitters. Classical music has a calming effect by promoting the release of serotonin and endorphins, which contribute to feelings of well-being and relaxation, mood enhancement and emotional regulation. 1. Effect on the brain. Classical music, due to its emotional depth and range, can stimulate the limbic system, which processes emotions, including the amygdala and hippocampus. It enhances dopamine production, which is linked to pleasure and emotional regulation. Listening to classical music can elevate mood, help with emotional expression, and provide a means of emotional release or catharsis. This effect is particularly noticeable in both uplifting and reflective pieces. Cognitive benefits and memory enhancement. 1. Classical music has been shown to enhance cognitive functions such as memory, spatial reasoning, and problem-solving abilities. Mozart's compositions, for example, are often linked to improvements in spatial temporal reasoning, the ability to visualize movements and objects in space, which aids in tasks that require mental manipulation of objects or information. Brain regions. The hippocampus and temporal lobes are particularly activated by classical music, which contributes to improvements in memory retention and cognitive processing. Increased mental clarity and alertness. 1. Classical music, particularly pieces with a faster tempo, such as allegro movements, can help stimulate dopamine and increase mental alertness. The rhythm and flow of these compositions can lead to increased reaction times and faster decision-making, while promoting overall cognitive clarity. Neurotransmitters. The increase in dopamine levels, in combination with the mental engagement of complex patterns in the music, boosts alertness and promotes a state of readiness. Rhythmic synchronization and coordination. 1. Classical music's steady. Structured rhythms engage the motor cortex and basal ganglia, areas involved in movement and coordination. The brain's ability to synchronize movement with rhythm can lead to smoother, more fluid physical actions. Neurotransmitters. Rhythmic music can stimulate dopamine and endorphin release, contributing to a sense of ease and coordination. Overstimulation in complex environments. 1. If the music is too intense or complex, especially with dramatic shifts in dynamics or intricate harmonic structures, it can overload the amygdala, emotion center, and prefrontal cortex, executive functions, leading to emotional overstimulation or mental fatigue. Effect on neurotransmitters. Too much stimulation from highly dramatic classical music can potentially raise norepinephrine levels, a stress hormone, which could cause anxiety or restlessness. Classical music and driving. Focus and concentration. 1. Classical music with clear rhythms and predictable patterns can significantly enhance focus and attention while driving. 2. By reducing cognitive fatigue, classical music helps you maintain a high level of mental alertness, allowing you to stay engaged and focused on the road. It reduces distractions that may arise from feelings of boredom or fatigue during long drives. The predictability of classical music helps reduce cognitive overload, enabling you to focus on the road without losing attention to extraneous factors. Stress reduction and relaxation. 1. Impact on driving. Listening to calming classical pieces can help reduce driving-related stress, especially in heavy traffic or during long trips. By activating the parasympathetic nervous system, classical music reduces stress and helps you remain calm behind the wheel. Lower blood pressure. If you're feeling tense or anxious due to driving conditions, classical music can help regulate your blood pressure and lower heart rate, promoting a smoother, more relaxed driving experience. Mood enhancement and emotional regulation. 1. Impact on driving. Classical music's ability to uplift your mood or provide emotional catharsis can make the driving experience more enjoyable. Whether it is calming your nerves or providing emotional expression, classical music helps you stay emotionally balanced, reducing the likelihood of road rage or impatience. It can help you process emotions during a drive, creating a positive driving atmosphere, which could lead to safer and more enjoyable driving. Cognitive benefits and memory enhancement. 1. Impact on driving. Classical music's positive effects on spatial temporal reasoning can help enhance your ability to judge distances, react quickly to traffic changes, and navigate through complex environments. It improves mental clarity, which helps with decision-making when driving. The hippocampus's activation during listening to classical music aids in remembering routes or responding to unexpected road conditions. Increased mental clarity and alertness. Impact on driving. Faster-paced classical music can help maintain a high level of mental clarity and alertness, keeping you responsive during drives, especially when you need to make split-second decisions, e.g., lane changes, navigating intersections, etc. This increased mental readiness helps improve reaction times, keeping you sharp during potentially high-stakes moments on the road. Rhythmic synchronization and coordination. 1. Impact on driving. The rhythmic patterns in classical music help synchronize the body and mind, which can translate to smoother, more coordinated driving movements. The music encourages fluidity in your steering, braking, and overall handling of the vehicle. 2. It can also help maintain a steady pace, especially during longer drives, reducing the likelihood of erratic driving caused by fatigue. Distraction from overstimulation in complex environments. 1. Highly intense or dramatic classical music might overstimulate your brain, particularly if driving in stressful situations. For example, listening to highly complex operatic pieces or fast-paced symphonies could result in mental fatigue, making it harder to concentrate on the road. 2. The emotional intensity of certain classical pieces may distract you from focusing on driving, especially when navigating difficult traffic conditions or dealing with high-stress moments behind the wheel. Conclusion. Classical music offers a range of benefits for both the brain and driving experience. It helps with focus, stress reduction, mood enhancement, and mental clarity. For driving, classical music can make long trips feel more enjoyable and less tiring, especially when you need to stay alert. However, depending on the complexity and intensity of the music, it could also lead to overstimulation or distraction in more challenging driving environments. So, it is important to select music that aligns with your mood and the driving situation to get the most positive effects.
In the next episode, we will shift into a new musical terrain, exploring jazz, country music, and the dynamic power of movement paired with rhythm. What happens in the brain when music makes you tap your foot, sway, or dance? We'll dive into genres rooted in storytelling, syncopation, and spiritual expression. From the deeply emotional traditions of gospel, soul, and blues, to the refined physical artistry of ballet, these styles, rich in culture and feeling, shape not just how we drive, but how we connect, how we remember, and ultimately, how we live.